Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khair for tuning in to another episode of Ridwanullah TV show. I'm your host, speaker, and coach, Hussein Muhammad, working to help you productively maximize your organizations and life on your journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, owner, and sustainer. And may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the most esteemed leader and most honorable teacher, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow him until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, in today's episode, inshallah, what we'll be talking about is starting off, actually opposite of that, always finishing off strong, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So inshallah, we're going to talk about why it's important to finish off strong, how we can finish off strong, and what we will achieve by finishing off strong by the grace, will, and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know you are in a situation where you have these ambitions, these goals, and these dreams that you have to produce results through to achieve by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what I want to do is, inshallah, give you a couple of strategic systems and tips so you could actually be in a position where you're not in a slump, where you're not, feeling down and depressed by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can actually feel motivated and inspired to always finish off strong by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reason why I chose that topic is because when you're looking at the Islamic calendar, we are actually in the end of the first quarter. So today is the 11th week. Actually, this week is the 11th week, and then next week will be the 12th week of the whole quarter out of basically 13 weeks within a quarter. Generally speaking, it might change here and there between the quarters. And after this quarter, this next week, the retreat or the break will happen bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So we need to be able to finish off very, very strong. So it's very, very important to do that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And a part of the reasons why it's so important to finish off strong is really, how you start matters, but not as much as how you finish. The weight, the majority of the weight is balanced in how you finish something rather than how you start, even though how you start is very, very important. So keep that in mind. You started something, finish it off strong. Only if it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. If it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with or not pleased with as much, I wouldn't recommend that you finish that off strong, obviously. But inshallah, other than that, anything that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything that's pleasing to you, anything that's pleasing, to your family and your ummah, so long that it's not displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, finish that off very strong, because that's where majority of the weight is. The second reason why it's so important to finish off strong is you'll be maximizing your results. What I mean by that is, if you were, getting, let's say, a certain percentage, whether in school or outside of school, or in business or organization, whatever it may be, let's say you were in a situation to get maybe 40%. Through your hustle and hard work in the last minute, you're able to maximize the results, jump that up from 40 to 60%, 60 to 80%, 80 to 90%, 90 to 110%, whatever kind of results that you desire. Your habit of finishing off strong will allow you to maximize your results by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last but not least, one of the most important reasons why it's so important to finish off strong is that you will basically avoid regret. All the regret and the pain that you feel, from not finishing off strong, from not giving it your all, from could have done better, could have done this, could have done that, could have, should have, would have, all of these things that, start to take away from the celebration, from your ability to be motivated, to be inspired, that will take away your power and your joy. All of that is, mainly is from the pain of regret. And by finishing off strong, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you will avoid the amount of regret, or at least minimize the amount of regret that you will feel by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other thing is, that is basically why it's so important to be able to finish off very, very strong, inshallah. And just to kind of summarize the reasons why, first and foremost, how you start is important, but what's more important is how you finish. And maximizing your results is a part of the reasons why you should work towards finishing off very, very strong, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And once you finish off strong, you will avoid a lot of painful regret, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And just to give you a quick story of why it's so important to finish off strong, when I was at the university getting my bachelor's degree, I realized, a lot of the times I didn't start off very, very strong, even though I try to do the best that I can. But I realized a lot of my time towards the end of the school year, towards the end of the exams, I was actually, not finishing off as strong. I might have started motivated and started, nicely, but my motivation and my energy kind of dwindled towards the end. And I was not getting the types of grades that I wanted. And I realized in order to be able to, get the level of grades and results that I wanted from the classes, I really had to have a different strategy. I really had to finish off strong. And what I started doing is I started planning and preparing for my, midterms, my exams. I started getting a planner, a scheduler, a calendar, and figure out how to make sure that I'm in the best position to finish off strong. And before that, as I mentioned, when I wasn't finishing off strong, I was not getting good grades. But as I was getting closer to graduate, I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And all I was doing is I was going on beast mode and started planning and preparing as best as I could, and making sure that I, finish off very, very strong. Alhamdulillah, towards the end, I was getting better and better grades, pretty much A's and B's, if not at worst case scenario C's. And alhamdulillah, I was able to finish off the school strong. So that's why it's so important for us to finish off, very, very strong with what we do, because we'll be able to achieve those types of results, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I kind of started off with that story on how to finish off strong, and that's the second section of our presentation on this show, on this episode, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Is you might be asking yourself, I'm beat up. How can I finish off strong? What are the tools, strategies, and techniques? And I've pretty much mentioned it in that story, but I'll repeat it again strategically and systematically and specifically, so you could take advantage of that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And, the most important one is, create a sense of urgency, right? Through your planning and preparing, making sure that you know your deadlines, knowing how long you have to finish off this quarter or this semester or this project or this business or this community service or whatever it may be, finishing that off very, very strong, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So that's one of the reasons, that's one of the ways you could finish off strong, is creating that sense of urgency. And a lot of the ways that I like to create a sense of urgency is, obviously you can see I segment my time, on a grander scale. I basically boiled down the journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in 10 major steps. The first one is, the first part is before the dunya. The second part is the dunya, and the third part is the akhirah. And I'll work my way down and I'll show you exactly how I create my sense of urgencies. So the level 0 is when you're in the womb of your mother. That's obviously when you don't have much control of your life. and you make it onto the first stage, which is childhood. That's from age 0 to 15 until you hit puberty. And once you move past childhood, you go into youthfulness. That's between the ages of 15 to 35. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I'm still under this category. I have, less than probably around a handful of years left. Not to tell you how old I am, but that's the second stage. Then the third stage is maturity. That's basically between 35 to 50 years old. And between the fourth stage is basically when you are in old age. That's basically between 50 to 70 years old. And the fifth stage is decrepitude. That's when, you're basically in the waiting lounge for death. And the amazing part about life and the thing that we should always keep in mind is the sixth stage, which is starting the akhirah, the exit out of this world, and in the entrance into the akhirah, which is death. That is the sixth stage, and death does not discriminate. You could be taken at any moment in stage 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It doesn't have to get all the way to stage 5 for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the angel of death to take away your soul. So always keep that in mind. You have very, very limited time. As Ibn Jawzi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him, mentions, every breath that we take is taking us closer to death. And the time we spend in our graves is long, and the time we spend in this world is very short. The time we spend in the grave is very long, and the consequences of following our lowly desires are calamitous. So keeping that in mind puts me in check to know that I have a sense of urgency, that I have certain limited amount of time to live in this world. So I push myself to do the things necessary to achieve the level of success that I need to be able to achieve, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And, it's very, very important. That's the sixth stage. The seventh stage is, the grave, right? You'll be in the waiting lounge for the akhirah, the grave. Then, subhanallah, we will be held accountable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the seventh stage, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring us on the day of judgment, asking us questions about what we did in this world. And the ninth stage, I might be losing my track here. Sixth stage is death. Seventh stage is the grave. Eighth stage is judgment day. Ninth stage is either heaven, which is 9, or number 10. Well, actually, number 9, hell or heaven. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves you from hell, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you will be entering heaven. So that is the macro scale of creating sense of urgency, and you kind of break it down all the way down to your days and weeks and months and quarters and years and so forth and so on. And inshallah, sooner or later we'll go into that. But just for this session, I would like to keep it brief, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So creating a sense of urgency is very, very important in your ability to finish off very, very strong in whatever you're doing by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing is you make sure you're planning and preparing so you could have unwavering focus. So you can have unwavering focus to achieve your goals and dreams by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just making sure you have a strategic system to plan and prepare. For me, I use this system that I created called the OPP framework. The O stands for outcome, the P stands for purpose, and the other P stands for process, the work that I have to do to achieve the success that I want, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destined for me. So keeping in mind, you have to have a plan and preparing system. Making sure you have calendars, making sure you have actual planners, and making sure you have a schedule. It's very, very important to be able to finish off very strong. As I mentioned, whenever I do whenever I finish off strong with my schoolwork or any other projects that I have outside of school, since I'm not in school anymore. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Last but not least, totally immerse yourself in what you have chosen to focus. Meaning you go all in and all out and give every ounce of yourself to achieving that goal for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Total immersion. Give it your best. Give it we don't even give 40% of our effort. Intelligent effort, hustle, and hard work, whatever it may be, whatever language that you use to motivate yourself. Those are the types of verbiage that I use to motivate myself. I love to be intelligent, to hustle and work hard as I possibly can, even though majority of the time I'm working towards working harder and harder by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So total immersion. So to quickly wrap up and summarize how to achieve your ability to finish off strong, whatever you're doing. Number 1, create sense of urgency. Number 2, have unwavering focus through planning and preparing, and totally immerse yourself by going all in and all out by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is majority of the ways that I use to help myself and my team or anybody that I'm working with to finish off strong by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last but not least, what will you achieve by finishing off strong? Number 1, you will have a peace of mind, that you gave it your best. You didn't reserve anything. You don't have regrets on what you could have done better. And the second thing is you will have the opportunity to enjoy your break, the opportunity to enjoy your retreat. I know I'm coming on a retreat next. I want to give it my all to finish off very strong, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, so I can enjoy my retreat. Enjoy, stop thinking that I could have finished better. You're finishing off the semester. I know I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's students at the University of Utah or Salt Lake City Community College or whatever college that you go to. Their semester is pretty much done and wrapping up, taking finals, exams, Whenever you finish off strong, you'll enjoy your break, and you'll be motivated to start the next semester. If you don't, you're gonna feel regret and pain, and you'll feel down and depressed, and you're gonna be in a position to start off next semester not in a good position. And if you're in a professional realm or business realm or investment realm, same story, no difference. So keeping that in mind. Motivation to be ready is the last and final thing that you will achieve by finishing off strong. If you finish off strong, as I mentioned, you will be motivated to start very, very early and ready and enjoy your break by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is basically the session that we wanted to have today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that you should always finish off strong. And I'll quickly summarize the reason why. Number 1 is, it's not how you start really matters, but it's more important on how you finish, and you're supposed to finish off strong. That's number 1. Number 2 is, once you finish off strong, you will maximize your results. If you don't finish off strong, obviously you won't maximize your results. And number 3 on why you should finish off strong is you will avoid the pain of regret, the pain of failure. And how is you have to create a sense of urgency. You have to have unwavering focus through planning and preparing, and you have to be totally immersed by giving it your all and by going all in and all out by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever projects and goals and dreams that you have. And once you do that, once you finish off strong, you will inshallah have a peace of mind instead of a mind filled with regrets and pain. You will get to enjoy your break and kind of, celebrate your successes and learn from your failures. And last but not least, you will be motivated and ready for the next round of semester, business, whatever it may be, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's all I have for you by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this week. I want to honestly hear what you think. Comment on the link below. What was the biggest aha moment from finishing off strong in this episode of Ridwanullah TV? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What do you use? Anything different that you use? Everything that you have that is of value, I would love for you to comment on the link below so you can let me and our viewers and our family, which I call Ridwanullah Dream Chasers, know of what your value is by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you've liked this video, please press the like button, and don't forget to share this value with your family and friends so they can always finish off strong by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content to help you maximize your productivity in your to productively maximize your organizations and life on your journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is your host, speaker, and coach, Hussein Muhammad, checking out by saying, always productively maximize your organizations, whether it's for-profit or non-profit, and your life by the grace, will, and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.